have to admit that I'm a customer. Got to start with the obvious. Why Uber and why sell?
Well, both good questions, especially coming after a year where I think it was a breakout year, it was a defining year for Drizzly. Two real reasons, though. I think the first one is when you hear Dara talk about the vision for Uber, about a world where not only can you get food delivered very quickly, but now alcohol, and then you throw in pharmacy and multiple other categories in the future. I want to live in that world. I believe in that world. And I think very much Drizzly could accelerate the path to providing that consumer experience that we all want and deserve. On the other side of why now, uh, the market is so nascent for alcohol delivery, for e-commerce overall. We've spent the last 8 years building the infrastructure to bring this particular category online, and we have a big vision. We want to be a household name. We want to be synonymous with alcohol. And while we believe we could get there by ourselves over the coming 5 or 10 years, this is really an acceleration, and this gives us the ability to move quickly with the platform and the technology and the scale and the expertise that Uber brings in a way that very few others can.
Well, and Drizzly's such an interesting company story, founded in Boston before DoorDash and Uber Eats even existed. So in a way, you paved the way for some of these new consumer behaviors. That said, is this kind of growth going to keep up post-pandemic in a new normal? Are we still going to order this much alcohol when we can go buy it at the store or go to a bar?
Well, I think you need to separate the categories. And I believe alcohol is going to have very different dynamics than food or convenience or grocery. I believe it's going to be one of the few categories that has an organic positive growth rate, even after an incredibly tough or rather large COVID comp. And all that comes back to consumer awareness. So much happened in 2020 to drive a new awareness for the legality of alcohol coming online. Who is Drizzly and why is it potentially a better experience than you could get if you even walking into your local liquor store? That hasn't changed. And so when we think about bringing 2% of alcohol online prior to COVID, more like 4% today, we still have so much green space ahead of us where I believe this should be a 10, 15, and soon to be 20% online industry in the coming 5 years. That leaves a lot of room for consumer behavior to change.
So we've reported that DoorDash and GoPuff, which owns Bevmo, also tried to buy Drizzly. What were those offers like? How did you make this decision? Did they fall short of that $1.1 billion price tag?
Oh, it was much less. The conversations were organic. We actually zeroed in when we discussed anything about moving forward with the company. Uber was our choice, and uh, is more cultural than anything. I think the price tag of today might get the headline, but our focus internally at Drizzly has been finding the right team with the shared vision that we want to be able to work with and accelerate what we're doing, at the same time combine in such a way where we can drive value for Uber on the other side. So I think that's really been our focus. And I think we found the right fit with the right company and the right leadership team.
Now, the cannabis part of the business, Lantern, isn't included in the Uber deal. Why not? And what happens to that business now?
Well, Lantern's going to spin out to be a standalone company as part of closing. And that was part of the initial idea behind Lantern. And in many ways, it was Drizzly 2.0 and taking a technology, finding out how to intersect that with regulation for a very nuanced category, one that's changing incredibly dynamically over the next couple of years. So Lantern was built for this moment. It was always a separate company. And now it has the chance to go on its own with its own management team that is incredibly well prepared, its own balance sheet. And I'm excited to see the next few years. I honestly believe Lantern is going to be the Drizzly for cannabis, and potentially has incredible things ahead of it as that that market and that regulation starts to open up.
Now, quickly, we did see layoffs after Uber bought Postmates. What are you telling the team? Will there be layoffs? Will you be staying at the company?
I will absolutely be staying at the company. There's so much more to be done. We built for 8 years. I think that only affords us the opportunity for this next phase to provide the consumer experience that we know should exist and that consumers deserve. And I think this is a very different deal. And this is part of the reason why we singled in on Uber very quickly. The way they approached the conversations, the sincerity, the respect they showed us, despite being 100 times the size in terms of enterprise value, we believe they want to build Drizzly and at the same time take a lot of our expertise and bring that into the Uber Eats app. I don't think of them as mutually exclusive. I think of them as complementary, and we're excited to do both. So for all those reasons, I think the team should be thrilled. And I think we found the right fit for Drizzly to be built over the coming years.